You are now listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Randy podcast.
Afternoon. This is the third installment of the Flat Tire Andy podcast. Today I am accompanied by my oldest son, Nicholas. Nicholas, say hi.
Hi.
Nicholas is going to be my producer for today. If I have some bad grammar, he will be correcting me. I have no problem with that. So, let's start. So the purpose of this podcast was for me to explain my life so that my children can understand that life isn't easy. So first I'm going to start with maybe, you know grandma, you know my mom. I am the second of 12. So you've met, I believe, every single one of them, even the ones that live in Texas. Yeah, born and raised in Oxnard. You know La Colonia, is that right?
Yeah.
La Colonia is like a little town in Oxnard that back in the 80s everybody avoided. Nobody wanted to go near it. Grandma actually got her car stolen at gunpoint on Cooper when Alex was still inside the car sleeping. So this guy came up to her and pulled out a gun and told her that he wanted her car. So she's like, "Can I at least get my son out of the car first?" So we ended up finding the car like a couple of days later. But the person that stole it did not know how to drive stick shift because car was trashed. And so when I was about maybe 5 years old, I was already changing like diapers. Do I like you guys changing diapers?
Nope.
Now you know why.
Mm-hmm.
5 years old, I was changing Danny's diapers, and he this was back in, I had to have been 6 because he was born in 88. I believe he's the same age as mom. So I was changing his diapers. I don't like changing diapers. So that was one of the responsibilities, being the second oldest, because Albert went to go live with grandma. Albert went to go live with grandma when he was born because my mom was too young to have a child. So my grandma Mary took custody of Albert, and Albert went to go live with her. So Albert didn't know that he was our brothers until I spilled the beans and said, "Hey, dude, we're brothers, right?" And so, yeah, he went to go live with grandma. So that made me the oldest. Yes. So now I'm the oldest of the house. So now I'm changing diapers at 5 years old. Then when I was about maybe 89, that puts me at 7. We were taken to foster care. Did I tell you that?
No.
Okay, we went to foster care because grandma left us home alone. It was myself, Alex, and Danny. Danny was maybe a year old. And where did she go? Don't know. But police came knocking on the door. I answered the door, and we had no clue what was going on. All I know is that they took us to the police station. They gave all 3 of us a little teddy bear, and ended up taking us to a foster home to people that we didn't know. Now, your uncle Junior was only maybe a few months old. So your Uncle Junior and Uncle Danny went to go live with grandma. I believe at first they went to go. I believe they split us up. So I believe that they probably went to a foster home, but not as long as Alex and I did, because Alex and I were in foster home for at least almost 2 months until Grandma Mary took custody of us. And so in the meantime, I was in, I believe, first grade. I was in first grade, and I was going to that school where Layla went to school before she came to live with us. I went there for a little while. Then Grandma Mary, we went to go live with my Grandma Mary, and Grandma Mary put me in Kamala. She lived around the corner from Kamala. You went to Kamala, right? So she, went to school there, lived with her for about maybe a year and a half, until I guess we went back to court and they asked us who we wanted to live with, and apparently Alex and I said we want to go live with our mom again, and so we went to go live with our mom, and yeah, but we went back to living in the ghetto. So yeah, the Colonia was not very very nice area, but that's where we grew up. That we grew up in like I said, really bad neighborhood, mijo. Okay, so once we went to go back to live with my mom, she never stayed in one place. She always moved from one place to another, to another, to another, and I never really stayed in the school for more than a year. It's always been every year was a new school year. Every year was at a new school. So I believe in the third grade I went to, or like fourth grade I went to like three different schools. Um, and it wasn't fun because you meet new people, and then you say goodbye because you're moving again. And so yeah, grandma moved us a lot. She moved us a lot. I believe, if I'm correct, maybe 50 times until I decided to move and live on my own. But I went to every elementary school you can think of in Oxnard, mijo. Kamala, McAuliffe, Juanita. At one point it was Juanita, and then it changed to Cesar Chavez in the Colonia. Then I went to there was a school way out in the boonies over there, close to the naval base. There's a school way out there. I went there as well. So I believe Frank Junior High was the only school that I stayed for 2 years, and that was because we lived nearby, or there was bus, or that was the only school at the time, because they closed multiple schools down because they were working on them. So a lot of the students went to Frank. So I met kids that when it was time to go to high school, they went to Channel Islands, or they went to Oxnard High School, or they went to Winnie High School. So we pretty much all split up after junior high, and some friends I still keep in contact with. But yeah, so we moved a lot, and there was a lot of absences. Grandma, I stayed a lot home. She wouldn't send me to school as often as a normal child should go to school. And when it was time to send me to school, I honestly didn't even want to go to school anymore. I was like, because it was like uncomfortable. New kids, new people. What was the point of going to school? And, so there was this one time, I don't think I ever told you. There was this one time in the sixth grade, grandma dropped me off in the front gate of the school. And when she drove off, I waited for her to drive off, and then I started walking home. When I got home, she was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, our classroom's on a field trip, so there was nobody there, so I came home." What happens when you can go on a field trip?
You go to another class.
Okay. I went home. What does that tell you?
You did.
I didn't even, yeah, exactly. I didn't even bother to step foot in the school. Maybe a few weeks later, there was a parent conference meeting. Oh, yes. Where the teacher explained that day they were in a field trip.
Really?
Yeah, I got so lucky. They went, I don't remember where they went, but they were on a field trip. So I, got away with that one. In school, that's why I'm very tough on you guys about school, about missing school. If you guys miss school or you guys are sick, I'd rather you guys come home because the school sent you home. Because I tell you guys that education is very important. And then here I am having my 12-year-old son, almost 13-year-old son, being my producer, just in case I mix up a word. And so, yeah, By the time I hit 6th grade, I didn't even want to go to school anymore. When it came down to junior high, the night before I went to school, I dreamt that I was gonna bump into certain friends, friends that I haven't seen in a long time. And it was funny how dreams are weird, or how dreams work. So I had a dream that I was gonna bump into, multiple friends that I seen at Rose Avenue. Rose Avenue is a school way over there by the north part of Oxnard, but after the Colonia. So I dreamt that I was gonna meet those people. Were gonna be there. Those kids were gonna be there. So in Oxnard, in the school system over there back in the day, it used to be track A, B, C, and D. So you went to school 3 months, then you went on 1 month vacation. Went to school 3 months, 1 month vacation. And every time so what it was is when track A was in school, track B would take their vacation, track C would take their vacation, and track D would take their vacation. And then it was your turn again. That's why it worked. It worked like that. So every month, someone was on vacation. A track was on vacation. And so, for some reason, I was in track A. They moved me to track A because there wasn't room at one school, or there wasn't room in a certain track. So we're going to put you on this track. Okay, cool. When I went to Frank on my first day, the same thing. They said, well, we have no room for this student in track A, so we have to put him back in track C at the moment. It is what it is, as long as I'm in school, right? So my first class, I walk in, and who do you think I see?
Those people.
All my friends from the 4th and 5th grade from Rose Avenue. It was like my dream. That was what I had just dreamt the night before. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
It's really crazy. And so yeah, I was with them again, hung out with them again. 8th grade, mijo. 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade can be pretty ugly. People nowadays take bullying really serious. Okay? Mijo, I was bullied like there's no tomorrow. But I never took it personal. Again, let's go back to my upbringings. We were broke. We were poor. One time, my mom couldn't afford to buy me shoes, so she bought me roller skates that were bigger than my foot and decided to take the rollers off. And those were my shoes. My shoes were bigger, 2 times the size of my foot. So you can imagine the nicknames I received thanks to those shoes.
Yeah.
Okay? Then she bought me these shoes that looked like the Nike logo, but it had the word Loop on it. So they were like these cheap imitations of Nikes. Again, the nicknames like there's no tomorrow. Again, haircuts. You get mad at me when it's time to get haircuts. But guess what? Back then, no one cut my hair. We were lucky to have someone that knew how to cut hair, that would cut my hair. Lydia cut my hair a few times, but a haircut wasn't a priority. So that's why I'm on top of you guys getting haircuts. So back to the bullying. I was called, based on my appearance, they would pick on my clothes. Based on my hair, they would pick on my hair. There was one time they called me Harry Bush. So it's like, because my hair was super long and it was out of control. And then my yearbook, my 8th grade yearbook, they wrote on a little picture of this little guy, like he had a little afro. There's a drawing of an afro. They put my name on there, like that's Andres. So yeah, 8th grade is not fun, It's bullies can be mean. It's just I never took it as bullying. Those are my friends being my friends. They are being funny. Those are the people I hung out with all the time. would go and play on an empty lot, play baseball, play catch, play. They came over to the house, we'd play Nintendo, you know. So I never took it as bullying, but kids nowadays take it really personal, and so again, there's way worse things out there, mijo. There's no need for you to get upset. Like if someone's bullying you, just come talk to me. We'll talk about it. But there's no need for you to have to go to the extremes because some kids are hurting themselves because of bullying. But no, bullying. Like I said, I never took it as bullying. I just took it as my friends being funny. And but yeah, back to the school attendance. So during the 8th grade, I missed so much school. 7th and 8th grade, I missed so much school that I wasn't gonna graduate. I wasn't gonna graduate, and there was times where, you know, grandma wanted me to stay home, and no, I need you to stay home. Like, but I need to go to school. This is already now. I'm at the point where I need to go to school. Now, I need to learn. I need to graduate, and she would get upset with me because she would want me to stay home to help her watch the kids or whatever, and I would get mad. No, I have to go to school. And she would tell me, you're not going to school to learn. You're only going to school to hang out with your friends. That's what she would tell me. So it would get, you know, pretty bad. Pretty bad. It's like, no, I'm going to school to learn. So, you know, we would go to school, and I believe the very last day to graduate 8th grade, before they did the final grades, I had a history test. It was on the state capitals, and if I passed that test, that was gonna boost my what is it called, GPA. That was gonna boost my GPA to graduate. Mijo, I got a D on the test. Made my point go up 1. So I was able to graduate on the line with my friends. That capital test, the capital state test, is what helped me graduate 8th grade. So, but due to all those absences, I still managed to graduate. When it came down to high school, again, went to Winnie High School, and I missed a lot of school. I missed so much school the first year that when it was time to be a sophomore, they're like, we have no record of this child even being in this school. So I had to be a freshman all over again. Yeah. I had to be a freshman all over again. And again, at this point, school is like, okay, well, I need to be in school. I miss so much school again because grandma would rather me be at home. Again, she would use the whole "you're only going to school for your friends" speech, but that wasn't the case. I wanted to learn. I don't want to have my son sit here and tell me whether I'm using the right grammar or not. So again, wouldn't let me go to school. And then when I finally, would go to school, it was like, I got home from school and she, gave me the guilt trip, or she's yelling at me or whatever. And there was this one time where I was going to school, and she wouldn't want me to go to school. She didn't want me to go to school, and I got so upset. I need to go to school. Where I went to my friend Luis, and I told my friend Luis, take my brother to school, please. Walk him to school. I'll catch up right now. And then when they walked away, I went back to the house, to the apartment where we lived in, and I kicked the door down because she wouldn't let me take my backpack to school. She said I couldn't take the backpack to school because she bought that backpack. So I took the backpack anyways, and I went to school. Whether she bought it or not, I needed to go to school. Plus, the backpack wasn't purchased by her. It was a gift from my friend Luis. Grabbed the backpack, went to school. I caught up to Alex and my friend Luis, and I went to school. So that's why I'm very, very, very strict about you guys missing school. I don't want you guys to miss school. And it's very important. I tell you guys all the time. I love my job, I love what I do. I love, like Roger makes fun of me and says, you just push buttons all day. Yeah, but I had to work very hard to get a job that involved me pushing buttons all day. So if I had a degree, high school diploma and a degree and something better, I probably would have done something different with my life. Something more. Look at Oribe, for example. He tried to quit his job, or he tried to move to a different location, and his company paid him even more than what he wanted just to keep him, because he has his master's or his diploma, his degree in the career that he chose to do, and the career that he chose to be in. So that's why it's very important for me that you guys get your education. What does dad love to watch so much?
Football?
Okay. Dad wanted to play football. Dad wanted to play football in high school. You think they were going to let me play football with those absences? No. So there was a dream that went out the door. Okay, I probably wouldn't have made it to the pros anyways. But who knows? I could have been playing with Tony Romo. Okay, never mind. Anyways. So yeah, again, recap. We lived in a bad area. We were in foster home. We lived with grandma for a few years. Missed so much school. Missed a lot of school. And I'm not telling you all this so you can hate grandma. That's not why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this because to help you understand sometimes when you're, well, I don't want this, or I don't want that, or you know what I mean? Like you're being picky right now. Yeah, we have what? TVs, PlayStations, Xboxes, a Switch. You guys have your phones. I have my phone. We have 2 decent cars. We have a nice sized house with a garage where we're recording an episode of the podcast. We have all this, yes, but because Dad had to work hard. But if Dad had his education, then Dad probably would have been doing something different, where Dad didn't have to work so hard. Sometimes you guys get upset because Dad gets home and he's too tired to do anything. But I just went to work. And that's why I told Mom right now, I'm going to go record an episode of the podcast right now. That's my way of relaxing. That's my way of relaxing before we go on our walk. After dinner, we're going on our walk. So, yeah, mijo. That's just a little bit of it, mijo. There's still so much more stuff. But right now, I wanted to get this started, get it going. So these microphones don't just sit in the garage for no reason. But yeah, school. Just stay in school, mijo. You're a good kid. You have good grades. You do have good grades. Julian has good grades as well. He's just a little bit more lazy. But this is why I'm very picky about missing school. This is why I'm very picky about certain things about you guys doing at home. Remember the day that I got upset about you making macaroni and cheese?
Yeah.
Okay. I apologized, but I've been cooking since I was really little. Really little. And macaroni and cheese wasn't the only thing that I would do. There was this one time where I had to, figure out what to feed my siblings, and I learned how to make rice, but I burned the first one. The first one. It was a disaster. Yeah, we were home alone all day, no food, nothing, and just looking at the pantry, see what I can figure out. Found a can of like corn and rice, and so I figured out how to make that, and only to find out that Grandma was at Universal Studios all day. So, yeah, that sucked, So that's why Dad is the way he is. There's way more stories of why dad is the way he is. But yeah, that's the biggest reason why school and certain things around the house that I don't feel that you guys need to do yet. Now you guys are old enough to suggest or to want to make something. Go for it. But it's not. I feel better because it's not me telling you to do it. And so, chores around the house. Everybody needs to learn to wash dishes, throw the trash away. Everyone needs to learn to throw the trash away. Some of these chores aren't that bad compared to what I used to do. Okay, so again, the podcast is to, inspire people, to show them that life does get better as long as they work hard for it. Again, you're talking to somebody who, after he left grandma's house, was, homeless, almost killed himself, and I accidentally almost overdosed once. Yeah, I'll tell you that later. It's a pretty funny story though. And to where we are now, mijo. To where we are now. Imagine, just 10 years ago, dad was homeless. You guys were living with mom still, with your mom, your biological mother. You guys were still living with your biological mother, and I was homeless. And I went from walking everywhere to then taking the bus to then buying a bike. Remember the bike trailer I used to pick you guys up with?
Yeah.
Okay, those were fun days. To getting a small little car, to getting the car that I have now. You got to work hard, but I will tell you that you guys, Layla, you and Julian, are the reasons why I work hard. Are the reasons why I decided to turn my life around and eliminate all that negativity from my life, and just be positive, work hard, and here we are. Next story, I'll see if it's still for you, for your little ears, and then I'll decide if that's an episode that you should listen to or be a part of. So,
thank you for listening to Ride With Me, the Flat Tire Indie Podcast. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean.